Bula, welcome to this explainer. Ever watched a massive blockbuster movie and thought, how on earth did the director pull off that insanely chaotic action sequence without everything falling apart? Well, it definitely doesn't happen by accident, right? They storyboard it. They map out absolutely every single camera angle, every entrance, and every exit way before a single frame is actually shot. Today, we're going to take that exact same cinematic mindset and apply it to something slightly different, but honestly, just as complex, your workflows.
I mean, think about it for a second. How do you bring order to a totally chaotic business process or an overloaded software program? What about a really complicated customer journey? Just like a director staring down a massive, sprawling script, you need a precise visual plan. If you try to just wing it, you're going to end up with a confusing mess. You really need a way to see the big picture and all the tiny details all at once.
And hey, that is exactly where the flowchart comes in. Officially, a flowchart is defined as a symbolic, graphical representation of a program's logic sequence or a business process. But let's be real here, it's basically a visual language. It's how we trace logic and catch errors before writing a single line of code or locking in a workflow. By standardizing how we draw these, using the official rules from the American National Standards Institute, or ANSI, we're creating a universal storyboard, one that literally anyone on your team can just look at and instantly understand.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Every great sequence needs a cast of characters, right? So, let's meet your cast, the standard symbols. First up, we've got the terminal symbol. It's represented by an oval. Now, this symbol stands for the unique starting and ending points of your chart. You can think of the terminal symbol as those crucial moments where the director grabs the megaphone and yells, "Action!" to start the scene and "Cut!" to finish it. Every single flowchart absolutely needs a clear beginning and end. And remember, there can only be one start and one stop terminator in your whole flowchart. No exceptions.
Next up is the process symbol, shaped like a good old rectangle. Honestly, this is your action star. The process symbol represents arithmetic calculations, data movement, or any executing operation that changes a value, form, or location. Basically, if a task is actually getting done, something like send confirmation email or process payment, it goes right here inside the rectangle. This is where the real action of your sequence takes place.
Then we have the decision box. You'll definitely recognize this one. It's famously shaped like a diamond. This is the dramatic crossroads of your storyboard. The decision symbol marks a point where a choice has to be made, and the plot literally branches off into alternative paths based on a yes or no or a true or false outcome. Think of a question like, is the payment approved? Depending on the answer, the flowchart takes the viewer down entirely different narrative paths, and you've got to make sure all possible paths are accounted for here.
Finally, we have the flow lines. These are those solid lines with arrowheads that connect all your shapes together. If the symbols are your actors, well, the flow lines are your camera movements. They guide the viewer sequentially through the exact logic paths, moving them smoothly from one step right to the next. They dictate the pacing and the direction of the entire sequence, making sure absolutely nobody gets lost between the start and the finish line.
So right here is where we really need to clear up a massive, and I mean massive, common confusion. People constantly mix up data flow diagrams, or DFDs, with flowcharts, but they are entirely different tools. It's like a fork and a knife. Both are totally essential, but they're completely useless if you swap them. We need to contrast data flow diagrams, which track the movement of information, against flowcharts, which track specific actions.
Let's use a pizza delivery analogy to make this crystal clear. A data flow diagram is basically asking, where's my stuff? It tracks the actual order data as it zips between the databases, the kitchen, and the delivery drivers. It's all about the information. A flowchart, on the flip side, is an instruction manual. It says, do this, then do that. It tracks sequential, chronological actions. You call the restaurant, you pay, and then you wait 30 minutes. So, if you want to track actions, stick to our cinematic flowchart.
To make sure your flowchart is actually readable, you got to follow the rules of the set. Let's look at the script. The rules for directing flow.
Let's start with the layout rules. First up, organize your flow strictly from left to right or top to bottom. This mimics how we naturally read, and it keeps the timeline super clear. Second, connect your steps with clear arrows that do not cross or tangle up. A messy set leads to a messy process, right? And third, try your absolute best to keep your entire scene limited to a single page whenever possible. That way, the whole flow can be grasped in just a single glance.
Next, we've got our design rules for maximum clarity. Rule number 1, always stick to the standard NZ symbols we talked about earlier. Don't go inventing your own shapes unless you actually want to confuse everyone. Keep the text inside those shapes brief, minimalist, and action-oriented. And finally, test it out. Do a table read. Walk through the paths to verify accuracy and make sure your design, like font sizes and colors, is totally consistent.
All right, we know the cast and we know the rules. It is finally time to call action. Let's look at the practical ways to actually build your diagram.
First, let's walk through the classic manual setup using a tool like Microsoft Visio. You'd start by clicking the File tab, selecting New, and choosing Flowchart from your template categories. Then you'd click on Cross-Functional Flowchart and hit Create. From there, you'd just navigate over to the Arrange group to adjust your swim lane orientation, picking either a vertical or horizontal layout depending on how your process naturally flows. It's very methodical, very precise, and totally hands-on.
But let's contrast that with the modern AI route, using tools like Visily or Creatively Viz. The workflow here is a complete game changer. You literally just type a natural language prompt, something like customer complains, check order, resend, or refund, and boom, the AI instantly generates the chart for you, complete with the correct decision diamonds and action steps. From there, you just quickly drag some shapes around to fix any minor mistakes and instantly share a link with your team to collaborate live. We're talking seconds instead of hours.
And there you have it. You now have the vision, the cast of symbols, and the exact tools to storyboard absolutely any logic sequence or business operation. So, I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought. Look around at your own daily operations. Where is the chaos? Where are those annoying bottlenecks? Now that you're sitting securely in the director's chair, what complex process are you going to map out and perfect next?